I've started 4 companies, sold 2, and I'd be happy to share a little bit of my experience there. All right, so here's a bit of my story. So founded my first company when I was 25. It was a marketing and branding agency. And then I launched a second company by 26. And I sold that one a year later. So the first company was a marketing and branding agency. And I really enjoyed the work we were doing. We were getting to work with clients like Target and Holiday Inn. But at some point I said, hey, I'm tired of like just exchanging like my time for money. I want to sell something more scalable, right? And so I decided to launch a tech startup. And so I built Vendive. Vendive was a business network for women entrepreneurs. I brought on a partner. We raised venture capital. We were named the next LinkedIn for women by Forbes and Inc. And you can see today, this was the day that my co-founder and I were like super pumped because that article had come out in Inc. And so it looked like everything was going so great from the outside. But from the inside, it didn't quite feel like that. It felt a little bit more like this. So for any of you that are in this journey right now, some of you might feel like you're in the red zone. And believe me, I've been in the red zone. Entrepreneurship can be so tough. And it really is a struggle to figure out what's working. And so in our case with Vendive, we were good at marketing because that was my background. We were actually really good at acquiring new users, getting people to join our network. We were not good at getting them to stick around. Our product was not sticky. People did not come and stay and invite their friends and interact all the time. And it's because we built the wrong product and we really didn't understand our customers as well as we thought we did. And we ended up having to make the really hard decision to close down the company. And it was pretty heartbreaking. And so then I was like, what the heck am I going to do? Right. So I was kind of like licking my wounds, trying to figure out what my next step was, what I was going to be when I grow up. And I was lucky enough that the investors in our company, they were like, you guys are really good at marketing. And we've got all these all these awesome teams who are really good at building stuff. You guys weren't so good at building stuff, but they're good at building stuff, not so good at marketing. Maybe you can help them out. And I was like, I would love to, especially if you're going to pay me because I'm broke. So I was lucky I got to do some consulting with a bunch of really great companies, some of whom had raised, tens of millions of dollars in funding, had clients like Tesla and NASA as their customers. And I would sit down at their boardroom table with their teams of brilliant, oftentimes engineers, and I would say, tell me about your customers. And I was surprised at how often the answers were not really congruent. So I'd have one person say, well, we're really focused on these folks. And somebody across the table would go, yeah, they're important, but also these folks. Or they'd give me a really broad answer like, well, we target companies that sell on the internet with anywhere between 10 and 500 employees. And I was like, oh, so then everyone, basically everyone, you target everyone. And it was really, really common that while they were great on understanding the product and building the product, they still weren't building the products their customers wanted because they didn't really understand their customers. And they were struggling to grow because they didn't really understand their customers. So I was like, am I the only one experiencing this? And I went out and I did a little survey on Twitter and I asked other freelance marketers and copywriters. And I said, how often when you start working with a client, have they not quite figured out who their best customers are? And you can see here, the answer was 88% of the time, they either don't know who their customers are almost every time, or more often than not, they don't know who their customers are. And this was a really big struggle because here's the thing, by the time most people are bringing in marketers, freelance marketers to help them grow, they just want those people to hit the ground running. They want to see performance right away. They want to see growth happen. But if you don't know who your best customers are and you haven't really spent the time to deeply understand their needs, then those people need to do that work first. And that takes time and energy and budget. And it really upsets teams when that work has to happen first. But at the end of the day, you can't do your job as a marketer or as a copywriter unless you've really spent that time to figure out who the customer is. And there's a lot of clarity around that. So I was like, I want teams to figure this out sooner. I want them to not have to wait until, they're hiring somebody and get disappointed that that person can't really perform the way they'd hoped. I want them to get this help sooner. It can help them with their marketing and it can help them with creating the right products. And so that's what I do today. So I created a company where we do training on customer discovery, on really understanding your customer. And we have some products like our Clarity Call cheat sheets that you guys all have access to. And really, our focus today is helping teams to not make the same mistakes that I made, not make the same mistakes that other companies have made, and to get ahead of this and really be able to be customer obsessed.